Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome into the Gen Existentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And this is the show where we, two paragons of the Gen X world, come together to expound extemporaneously on topics that you've sent in and things that we've just found all over the internet and stuff like that.
More like paradummies.
Paragons. We are the epitome of Gen X. Here. This is Gen X. Love us, adore us, fear us.
Continue to ignore us.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give Mega Wheel of Magnificent a spin. Over 1,300 questions on this wheel. And we'll hope that we get something good. Okay. Would you rather be lost in a bad part of town or lost in the forest?
Lost in the forest any day.
Why?
Because I feel more at home in the forest.
I feel more at home in the forest, but if I'm going to be lost, I'd rather be lost in a bad part of town. But that comes from me. If I'm lost in the forest and, for instance, I run out of insulin, or if I have a hyperglycemic episode and I don't have any glucose tablets left, I'm pretty well screwed.
Eat your berries.
I don't know what happened. His sugar got low and he died eating these poison berries. At least he tried.
Yep.
And of course, I know the dangers of being in the bad part of town, but I've played music for years. Usually the clubs you play in are in the bad part of town. And so you watch out for stuff. I hate to sound
like a modern girl, but I'm going to have to take the bear over the bad part of town. So,
well, and my thing too is this. I mean, consider like how we grew up and stuff. I mean, we're not mountaineers or anything, but if you drop you or me into a forest, we know, watch the sun, listen, find a water source. Chances are, unless you drop us really deep in and deep out into a highly forested area, we're probably going to find our way out.
Sure.
We're probably going to be able to get out. So I don't know. Escaping from the bad part of town might actually be more difficult, to be honest with you.
You've seen The Warriors, right? You know how bad that can be.
Exactly.
Lynn Thigpen yelling at you over the radio while you get beaten by guys in baseball outfits. Bad time.
So we will give Mega Wheel of Magnificent another spin. And our topic is, who sticks out as being an early positive influence on your life? And this kind of, it casts a wide net, so I'm going to narrow it down. Who sticks out as being an early positive influence in your life who is not a member of your family?
My next door neighbor, Tommy. His real name was Lester Thompson. But for some reason, I called him Uncle Tommy. Uncle Tommy was the epitome of the 50s happy homeowner guy. He wore his plaid shorts and his black socks pulled up over his slippers in the summertime and was out on his hands and knees with those weird little electric, trimmers, trimming the edge of the grass near the sidewalk and all that. He had a Scotty dog. He was married. He had an immaculate little house. But he was very much super friendly, always talkative, taught me how to use tools. He's a super nice guy. Probably the first non-family influence I had of somebody who was genuinely, or at least pretended, to me it felt genuinely happy to see me.
Nice.
and would sit on the porch with me. Porch, where I grew up, there were all these little crappy ranch houses, and everybody sat under the overhang of their garage
Yeah.
in lawn chairs. So I'd sit in a lawn chair next to him, and he'd be smoking his pipe, all 50s style, and we just talk about the day. And I got to see Scotty, the Scotty dog, not an imaginative name, but what are you going to do? And it was nice. It was nice to have the attention and interest of an older person, and he was probably in his 50s at the time.
Yeah.
When I was a child. Just someone who was just genuinely interested in being nice and talking about the day and talking about nature and stuff. So that would be it. How about you?
That's cool. Early positive influence in my life. I don't know which way to go, because I took it out of the family range, but
Yeah.
I was speaking like, you can't pick somebody from your family. I can't pick somebody from my family. So I was thinking about it as you're talking, the same kind of thing, like with your mom and dad,
Oh,
because
nice.
when we ended up at your place,
hmm
your mom and dad, even when we were little, didn't treat us like kids.
No.
They were always happy to see us.
hmm
And we would sit in the living room and talk to, I mean, sometimes you were off doing something else and I'm sitting there talking to your dad. And
Yeah.
so it was that same kind of thing, that same kind of
Yeah.
feeling that you're talking about. That positive influence, like you're not just a kid.
Yeah.
You're someone that's worth talking to and listening to, and having a conversation with. The other person I was thinking of was going to be my first bass teacher, Homer, whose name currently is Homer Shadowheart. He's a comedian now. Because when I started playing bass, I loved music and I was writing poetry, and I just being introduced to that world. I think anybody that starts off as a musician, hopefully, probably, you get somebody as your first teacher that is open to your ideas and the music that you like. And Homer and I were completely copacetic on like style of music, and just having that half hour every week for the lesson to go in and learn and talk about that music and how things worked, was hugely influential on me and my playing. For the years that I took lessons from him. So those would be my answers. Your parents and Homer.
Well, thank you.
Early positive influences.
I've heard that story, especially about my father, from a number of friends.
Yeah.
Who would end up just sitting in the living room with him and watching whatever he was watching.
Yeah.
And just jawing about it and having a good time, and just,
Yeah.
My dad was very open and friendly to people like that. So
yeah,
I appreciate you mentioning them. Thanks.
Especially if your mom and dad were watching a Reds game.
Oh, geez.
I could just plop down, just watch a few innings.
The Lord knows I wasn't sitting around watching it, so I'm not a sports guy. So much to my parents' chagrin, but
yeah,
not a big sports guy.
That was good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will give Mega Wheel of Magnificent another spin and see what we can come up with here.
Okay.
As the wheel spins down, like the days of our lives, I guess.
Spiraling downward.
Speaking of parents, so I'm going to preface this with the fact that we're both 51. We are not parents. We chose not to have children. So the question that Mega Wheel has given us is, what kind of parent do you think you'd make?
I think I'd make a great parent. I hate to sound so smug.
And the follow-up is why?
Why? Because I was raised by great parents, and I had great people around me all my life. I have a sense of humor. I don't take life too seriously, and I wouldn't expect my child to either. My parents were very good about giving me a wide berth as long as I proved to them that I wasn't a complete piece of crap. I do my homework. I didn't get into drugs. I wasn't a hellraiser. I didn't disobey, all the time and stuff. So my parents gave me wide latitude to seek out my own religion, to seek out my own place in the world, to seek out my own hobbies. And I think I'd like to be able to extend that to my child if
Yeah.
I had one. And be supportive in that. And I think the current relationship that I have with my wife is very similar to my mom and dad in our reciprocal love for each other. We don't hide our displays of affection. We're very vocal. And I think that's important to a child too, to learn how relationships work.
To see love.
To see it, how it works, how it manifests daily. We don't hide our emotions, which is something my parents never did either.
Yeah.
Like it was terrifying for me for the first time to see my father cry. And he didn't cry very often. This is the man who never threw up and he never cried. I never knew my father to vomit, and I only knew him to cry twice in my entire life there. But to be able to see things like that and see, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
That some stuff like that happens. And, just to be human and then not overschedule them and not overtax them with the future.
Right.
So how about you? What do you think? What kind of parent would you make?
I'll echo you about my parents. My parents were fantastic. They supported me in everything I did. When I went to them and said, "Hey, I want to play bass," their only caveat was, if we get you a bass, you have to take lessons. You have to learn how to play it. And I said, yes, I would. And so my next birthday, I got a bass. And it has been a huge thing in my life. I was 14, I think then. I'm 51 now. I've been playing the whole time. Never stopped. So they were very supportive in that. They've always been supportive of my writing, career choices, everything. I couldn't ask for more or better parents. Having said that, I think I would be an awful parent, and it's part of the reason I chose not to be a parent. I just never wanted to be. There wasn't a part of me, there never has been to this day, that wanted to be a parent. And I'm thankful that so many people out there have 2 or 3 or more kids and that they enjoy it and they have fun with it. It's just not something that ever floated my boat at all.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because I'm too selfish or...
No, it's good to be honest about it, and to be honest with yourself about that, because I think a lot of people aren't. There are people out there that aren't honest about it and go ahead and have a family when they don't really want one or can't really take care of one.
Yeah.
So.
And the odd thing is the very infrequent times that I'm around kids, it's like I'm some sort of magnet and they want to talk to me.
Yeah, they're like cats. They're annoying like that.
But I love cats. But yeah, kids, and I'm always okay with them. It's there's no problem there. It's just I never wanted to be that. I never wanted to be dad. I never had that part of me that it was just, and part of it is, I didn't want to pass on being diabetic. I didn't want to, when I looked at it, it was always through a negative lens. And that's probably just me. Like I would look at all the negative aspects of myself and go, yeah, those are things that shouldn't be apparent and shouldn't be around a kid. Never considered the positive stuff. Like I'm intelligent. Okay. I would get to pass on things that I've learned and, rear a child and, foster the next generation. I never thought about that. It was always, when I was younger, I had a bad temper. I wouldn't want a kid to see that. And I wouldn't want a kid pass that on to a kid. So I'd just not have kids. So it's kind of a weird backwards way to look at it, but end result, I think I'd be a terrible parent. And thank God I'm not a parent.
Well, there you go.
So we will give Mega Wheel and Magnificent one more spin for this show. And we shall, as we say, expound extemporaneously on whatever the topic is.
Come on, Meg, don't let us down.
Okay. I I'm reading the question and I'm like, I'm gonna have really have a sit down and think about this. What is the best album or music to make out to?
Simple. The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me Extended. Put it on your CD player, or you just put it on your MP3 player and hit repeat. And how long can you go, son? I don't know. You'll find out.
MP3 players are like a decade ago, dude. You just stream it. You just stream it now.
Fine.
We got to try and bring along the younger generations with us here.
Just make sure you put it on repeat. I'm telling you, kids, not a finer album to make out to. It is a perfect length for, as she said, for, a fine evening. But if you are feeling tantric, you're feeling like a marathon man or whatever, you want to go a little longer, you just put that baby on repeat, and it's brilliant. Light up a little incense, turn the lights down or off. You have got yourself an amazing Gen X evening. Trust a bunny when he says this. Tried and true. Used it many times. So, how about you?
Okay, so you took The Cure, and I think there are other Cure albums too. For some reason, The Cure, even for as mopey as they can be, the music is geared.
It's that watery guitar. That watery guitar is sexy.
Robert Smith and that the baritone guitar that pops up through so much of their music just kind of builds that feel. So I can't do that. So I'm gonna go, and you're gonna laugh at this, but I urge you to try it. Vangelis and the Blade Runner soundtrack.
All right. Yeah, I've got that.
And you wouldn't think so.
The talking doesn't get to you in that soundtrack?
No, because it's not. See, with The Cure, if you're looking for music like that, it's for the rhythms and to build the rhythms and let that kind of keep time with the makeout session. With Vangelis or something like that, you're just looking for the background sound. You have to provide the rhythm. So it's all just the background sound and the feel that you're going for.
Cool. All right. I'll accept that.
Yeah, boy, that was a weird question. It takes a lot because, well, I mean, here's the thing about like a makeout album. We're talking about it from our point of view. And of course, if you're making out, you've got at least one other partner with you, or you probably do. Unless you're making out with yourself, which, you do.
You could be making out with multiple people, too, if you play cards right.
And so you really have to kind of take into account other musical tastes.
The way we always played it in the past was whoever's property you were on, that's the person who picked the music for the makeout session. So I was a guy who actually owned multiple CDs of Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, because I had a 5 CD changer and I had 3 copies of it, and I kept 3 copies in and just let them keep playing all night long. All night long.
That is so bizarre.
I love it.
That you bought 3 copies, and see, that's how we were back in the day, kids. There might not have been a button on your CD changer that said just, repeat. So you just had to keep the same disc popping up.
Just let it roll.
And just hope that the other two spots in the changer weren't like Motorhead and Iron Maiden.
No, you kept those empty, so it just skipped over them.
Yeah.
Because it's great. Once you've had that post-coital bliss, you just bliss out and you fall asleep to it, and it's easy to sleep to.
Got it. Yeah.
So,
see now, looking at it from that perspective, I'm thinking The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and then post-coitus into the Vangelis.
See, you got to work. That's going to be real tricky timing there.
But when you're a pro, when you're a consummate pro, you can make it happen. You can make it happen.
Let's say the deal is
tantrics earlier.
I didn't like to get out of bed to do anything, like to hit the buttons, to change anything. I want that. I want to make that nice blankety taco of togetherness there. That little
moist taco.
Yeah, that steamy little nest. It has to stay there. It has to endure.
Yeah, kids, and this was like pre-remote controls for your stereo. What's a stereo?
Yeah.
Look it up on the
Yeah, go watch an episode of Double Dare. They always win them at the end. So
Yeah, exactly.
if
I'm gonna
you
give
find what
Mega
Double
Wheel.
Dare is.
I'm gonna give Mega Wheel one more spin, try and get
Okay.
one quickie to end the show on.
All right.
Whatever the question is, you've got 10 seconds to answer it.
Wait, that last one was a little too much info, wasn't it?
It
Good times.
probably was. You might want to name
Well,
name this episode TMI.
Well, here you go, kids. Look those two albums up on YouTube or wherever Spotify, and give them a listen and see if it works for you.
Yeah, and if you've got a partner there as you're listening, hop in.
Yeah,
get to work, as they say.
Russian fingers and rosy palms. Just do what you got to do.
And so, to end this episode of the Gen Existentialists, are different cultures interesting to you? Why or why not?
Well, sure they are.
Why or why not? Come on.
They're interesting to me, but I don't really want to immerse myself in them. I'm quite pleased with my own culture. I don't denigrate my own culture. So I look at other cultures as interesting things to observe and perhaps participate in on a semi-irregular basis, but I have no interest in becoming another culture or anything.
Yeah, I think
cultures are fascinating because that's what makes people different. That's your true diversity, is that there are diversities of culture.
But I think kind of like bodies of water, where spaces mix can sometimes be where things are the most interesting, especially if you get the best of multiple cultures and bringing them together.
If you play one of those albums before,
yeah,
you find an interesting young lady to spend your time with. So yeah.
I do find different cultures very interesting because I love seeing the ways that different people have evolved, different groups of people, from their religion to their literature, their painting, the art, especially their music, how they view the world, things like that. Mm-hmm. It's always wonderful. And even though I might like listening to some Indian or Pakistani music, I'm not going to incorporate that into the stuff that I do because I can't. It's so foreign to me, but that doesn't mean that I don't like listening to it and hearing that sometimes.
That's what makes that stuff special.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that I can't do it and it's not part of me, but it's something that I like to visit and partake in sometimes. And I think food is actually the same kind of thing. It's a different culture. Like if you go to an Indian restaurant or a hardcore Chinese restaurant, not like a buffet, but an actual Chinese restaurant, that's a different culture that you're diving into and you're sampling from. It may not be something you can make or that's typical in your diet, but it's interesting to see the way other people live and feel it and eat it and do it. And on that note, this has been the Gen Existentialists, where we will give you way too much information sometimes and expect you to follow along. So tell us about your favorite makeout music.
Yeah, give me some ideas.
Drop us a line, send us an email. If you think we're way off base, let us know what your ideas are, and we may do a future episode to kind of go back through this stuff again. Until we meet next time, my name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we will catch you then next time. Have a good one.
See ya.